Hey guys, how's it going? I am so excited to be bringing you the next few videos. I know a lot of people have asked me questions about just staffing and how do I go about staffing my house. Today we're going to talk about housekeeping because I feel this is one of the more important aspects of when you're running an Airbnb, especially if you don't live here. This person is going to be one of the most important people that you will deal with on a day-to-day basis. Because no matter how good you set up your Airbnb, no matter how well you speak and communicate with the guests, when they walk in that door, if what they saw in the picture is not what they get, and the presentation is not there, and the cleanliness is not there, none of that stuff that you did prior to matters. So I want to just tell you about things that I never thought about and things that I wish someone had told me when I was choosing a housekeeper. So make sure that you get a pen and paper and make sure you jot these things down. So when you're doing your interview or you're considering hiring someone for the job, just make sure that you cover everything that I'm about to tell you because it may come into play later on down the line. And you don't want to just have any disagreements with the person. Just get it all out on the table in the beginning. So let's talk about dependability first. You want to know that this person is going to be able to service your place as you get bookings without hesitancy. In the sense that, where do they live? Do they live in Montego Bay? Is your Airbnb in Montego Bay and they live in Ocho Rios? Like, how close are they? What are their other obligations? Do they have another job somewhere else? Or are they working on the premises and maybe there are other Airbnbs and they would just be picking you up as a second, third, or 10th place that they're doing? So you definitely do need to know this. Other things would be, how do they get to work? Are they riding public transportation? Cabs? Are they driving? And again, location is a very, very big thing because you may think differently if the person is coming from really, really far, or you just need them to do a small job, but they have to travel an hour in just to, do whatever it is that you need them to do. Maybe it's a last minute booking. So you really, really need to know what their dependability is. So you definitely ask them the questions that I just said. And you definitely want to know their obligations. Do they have children? Do they have other Airbnbs that they service, maybe in a different parish or, just even in the same place? How many other houses do you clean? Because they're only one person, and if you have a check-in this day and three other people have a check-in that day, how can he or she do their best work if they have so much on them? Do they have ancillary people that help them? Are these people always available? These are questions that you definitely want to ask them. Let's talk availability. Do they have any obligations where they can't work on, a certain day of the week? Do they have religious obligations where they can't work on Sundays, or they have Bible study or things like that? Or are there any time constraints where they can't be at work at, 7 because they have children? They need to take them to school, or they have to be done by 5 because they have to pick them up. These are all things that you need to ask them. And even though it may seem a little like you're being nosy, but trust me, you need to know these things so you don't have issues that come up if you do hire this person and you're asking them to do something and then they want to then start to tell you these things. So ask them these questions up front. Oh, and before I forget, what about weekends? What about holidays? Do they do that? Like, would they even come out to do it? Or, of course, you may have to pay them extra because it's the holidays, but these are things that you need to ask them. Weekend and holidays are very important because these will be some of the busiest times for you, especially like when you got your Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after Christmas. Same thing with New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Will your housekeeper be willing to come out to clean, to work for you? Obviously you will have to pay her premium or pay him or her premium, but is this even a consideration? Not saying that they will have to do it, but if something comes up and you need them, would they do it? Loyalty. You don't really think about that, but some people check job history. They want to check references. Do you have anybody that will vouch for you? What have you been doing over the past, year, 5 years? Have you been with the same people? Are you just jumping from this place to this place? And if so, why? Just as this happens in any other workplace, people want to know, what is your loyalty? Because if you get someone and you get comfortable with them and everything is going, you don't want this person to be jumping from here to there and then you have to start over because, again, this is your house. and it's sensitive in the sense that you are dealing with guests, and we're going to talk about that, goes more into trust, but you want to know that this person is going to be loyal to you. Trust is very important because what you have to realize is this person is not only cleaning your home, they may be doing what I call mid cleans, where the guest checks in and then they come in and service the house, during the week, or, in the middle of the person's stay, basically. So the guests have, they have their belongings out, their valuables out, and you need to know that this person is trustworthy. So you can't just go get any person off the street to clean for you because you like them. You kind of want to know something about them because you never want to have an issue where a guest is telling you, oh, something is missing, or, just anything, because people have their valuables out. So that is so important. And it's something that you have to think about. Oh, another thing with trust, lastly, you definitely want to have someone that you can trust. Now, of course, most people have cameras. This is, again, I always tell you guys, you definitely have to have a camera outside your door because you want to make sure, like, you don't have a housekeeper that is, you have a guest that wants to stay an extra night, or somebody that just wants to stay one day and they let the person stay, they pocket the money. I'm telling you these things because I've seen these things happen. So, but most of the times, most people now have cameras on their doors. So this pretty much doesn't happen, and a lot of people have digital locks. Some people still do use the key method, but I don't do that. But I'm just saying trust is so important. Here are some other things that you may not even think about, but you need to know. Ask them about doing windows. Do they do windows? Do they clean the balcony windows? Are you going to have to employ somebody to, take care of those things? Some housekeepers do, some housekeepers don't. Like my housekeeper, she doesn't do windows. So I have to pay someone to come out and do the windows as well. And not everyone is going to do exactly the things that you may think that just comes with the job. What about inventory? You need someone that is going to keep up with things in the house. Like, especially when you're away, you don't want someone to just let things go out and then they just don't use the things, or they never take the time to just call you like, hey, we're running low on this. I'm going to go to the store and get it. And, you just reimburse them. These things are so important, and you want to establish this with your housekeeper when you sit down and talk to them. And the reason why I'm going over this is because I'm in the process of trying to find a housekeeper to service this new place with all these things that I've learned from running my first Airbnb. Some things good, some things bad. And I don't want to start over with someone else not addressing these things. So instead of you maybe making the mistakes that I made, you are now empowered to know that these things are things that you need to consider when you're getting a housekeeper. So I want to touch upon this because, like I said, I'm just bringing in everything. When you buy inventory, the inventory is for the house. You got to let them know that. So I don't know if you're providing garbage bags, if you're providing water, if you're providing any kind of specialty drinks or whatever it is, this is not for people to take. Like, yes, it's there, but it's not for you to take. So if you are going to take it, you need to make sure that you replace it. So this is why you as a person need to keep up with your inventory as well. Know exactly what you have. And I know this may be a touchy subject. It should just be obvious, but sometimes it's not. And you're not providing for other people. This is what you pay them for. So you have to let them know, this is the inventory. You keep track of your inventory, and you want them to keep up with the inventory as well, especially when things go missing, in the house. And I'm talking about like something that may have gone missing with the guests. And you have to tell the housekeeper they have to be more than just a person that just comes and cleans. They also have to be vigilant about what's going on in the house. Now, if they're unable to do all these things because of maybe obligations, or they have so many other houses, then maybe this is not the person for you. You don't want a person that's overwhelmed and they have so many other houses or too many check-ins that they can't do what you need them to do. So I always told you guys that I don't do check-ins and check-outs on the same date. So this is one of the reasons, because I want to give my housekeeper a chance to be able to really be able to get my house clean, because she does have other places. And also this gives me a chance that if I walk into something that is broken, missing, or really needs attention, I have time to recoup and get it done before my next guest would check in. So that is the reason why I do not do check out at 11, another check in at 3. Not saying that you can't do it, but what did I tell you in my other video? If you do something like this, you need to have a very strong team behind you. a very strong team, because if you don't, you'll fail. Literally, you'll fail, because eventually it will catch up with you, whether it be in lack of housekeeping, or guests are upset because something's broken, or they're supposed to check in at 3 and you're still in trying to fix it, or trying to find it, or trying to apologize to them about something. I guess I shouldn't say that you'll fail, but it may just bring a few hardships for you. But if you have a strong team out there, by all means, get that money. You also want to make sure, check their mobility. Like, I know this may sound crazy, but people have to be able to climb, to bend, to lift, because this is a part of the job. So if you have someone that has an issue with mobility, that may be hard, especially when they're getting down in the shower. They sometimes have to get down on their hands and knees to scrub. They may have to stand up and reach over their head. So I'm not trying to sound mean, but mobility has to be there. They have to be able to do these things to adequately clean your home. So finding out about their physical limitations in the beginning is something that you need to ask about. You have to make sure that this person knows what your standards are. And you may have to physically show them, because what I found is a lot of people are set in their ways. They're set in their ways, or they think they know what's best. And that's fine. Not saying that their way is wrong, but you are the owner. You have your own standards. You know exactly what you want. So if I tell you that I want, I don't know, the couch to look like this, or I want this turned this way, that's what I want. It's not up to you to make that decision for me unless you discuss it with me. So you have to make sure that you have some type of lines of communication with this person, because it would just be like, if anything, just more irritating, because this is not how you want things presented to your guests. You want to make sure, like I said, again, that this person is going to keep up with their inventory, when things are missing. So they need to know what's going on in the house. They need to be attentive to those things, which then brings me to something that is so important that I find myself even having to address here, because I want to tell you something. I go through so much to ensure that my house looks a certain way. I feel like I go through some things that I shouldn't have to go through, but I'm trying to like iron out the wrinkles. And this is why I thought it was so important to tell you, because now that you know these things, you are going to be equipped to make better decisions. But the thing that I want to tell you about is paying attention to detail. When I say this is so important, because for instance, like let's say the towels are in the rack. One towel shouldn't be half hanging off or crooked or lopsided. That's paying attention to detail. That, yeah, the towels are there. Yeah, they're clean. Yeah, they're on the rack, but they don't look uniform. These are things like some people just don't have the eyes to pay attention to detail. So this is why you have to really, really reiterate to people what you expect. Like maybe there's something that's could be facing forward or backwards. It still does the same thing, but you want it facing forward. You want, if you're providing drinks to them in the refrigerator, yes, you could just put everything in the refrigerator, or you could put it in the refrigerator in an organized manner. Kind of sort of like when you check into a hotel and, they may have 2 things here and 2 things here. They're all facing forward. Or it could be over to the side, but they're not going to do that, because that's paying attention to detail. And there's so many other examples that I can give you, but you see what I'm trying to say here. You have to find someone that pays attention to detail. And like I said, if they don't, you need to tell them what you're looking for. You may have to say it once, or you may have to say it twice, or you may have to go behind them, because these type of things can make or break you. And this is what I find that people don't really understand. I'm actually trying to, go through steps to fill in the spaces and the blank spaces that I have with my staff, because communication is another thing that you have to keep open. I find here communication can sometimes be a little hard. And I'm going to talk more about that in other videos. You need to have your housekeeper communicate with you. If things are going wrong, if they see something going wrong, like something that may be small to them, but if they notice that fingerprints are on the wall, or there are imperfections in things that there weren't imperfections in, or something's going on, they noticed anything in the house that's worth mentioning, you need to know, so that you can then decide, do you want to address this? Like if they notice that things are missing out the house, or again, this goes along with the inventory, but it also goes along with communication. If this thing wasn't the way the house was in the beginning, let me know. But don't let me know when things are, at the end, or you don't have any more, or you just hear from a guest that this wasn't there, or they were expecting this and didn't get this, and then you tell the person and then they're like, oh well, you just didn't have it, or oh someone stole it, or oh we just didn't have any more. That's not acceptable. You have a standard and you need to stick with it, and you need to make sure that your housekeeper and your staff know this is my standard. If you are unable to provide this to each and every guest, I need to know, and I need to know this prior to this situation happening, because especially if you're back at home, you're just thinking this is exactly what's going on with the guests, and then you find out they wrote you or they're asking for something and you're just wondering why. But I'm just trying to let you know things that are common that I don't want you to experience. So there's that. Your standards are your standards, nothing less. That's it. Your standards are your standards. If this person doesn't want to keep with your standards of what you're looking for, because what you have to understand is people are building modern places now. There's no more of that, old places and old ways of doing things. They have so many different elements in their home. So there has to be more detailed cleaning, and people have to understand this, because your standards are your standards. Here's something, a backup housekeeper. So you got your housekeeper, everything's going good, the person's working out well, and oops, they have an emergency. Or oops, they want to go on vacation. What do? Who's going to clean your house? And you're all the way back in the United States or the UK or Canada, and you're scrambling around. You need to have a backup housekeeper. Now, a lot of times you will find that that's not really looked upon in a good way here. Like your current housekeeper may feel offended. People may feel like you're trying to replace them, but no, you're just trying to protect your investment. Now, what you can do is ask your current housekeeper, hey, do you know any other housekeepers that that can come in, or you can help train them just in case you're unable to do your job or come to work, or you have an emergency, or you just want to take a vacation. So think about that you want to have a secondary person that you can call just in case you get into a bind, or maybe your housekeeper just can't come out and you need someone to come out and do something for you. Respect also has to be there between you and your staff. For instance, again, we go back to the communication. That's a big thing, and that's a huge problem I have, and I find that is here. You have to have communication, and respectful communication. And one good tip that I want to give you, so when you get your bookings and you know that people book, you send your housekeeper a calendar. Like we make out a calendar every single month, and we put the guest name, when they're going to check in, when they're going to check out. And I try to have that there. We try to give this to our housekeeper, before the next month will start, so that she can then, plan out her, days, weeks, or whatever it is. And if she has an obligation that she needs to attend to, she can tell me like, hey, I won't be there during this time. And that's the thing. They need to let you know. They need to let you know, like if they're going on vacation, like you can't come and tell me if you knew you were going on vacation, you can't come tell me 2 days before, because I still have a business to run. So that is that's respect, respect for the business. So you want to talk to them. Like as soon as you find out, because this happens at any job, as soon as you find out that you're going on vacation or something has happened and you can't come to work, you let me know. So then I can try to plan. This is where I said you need to have that secondary person to be there if you do need them. But I can't stress respect enough. Like communication, more than likely, if you are living abroad, you will be communicating with your housekeeper through, like, say, WhatsApp. It has to be a respect. A lot of people may not have like the red stamp on, so you don't know. But if you write them, they should respond back to you. They have to respond back to you, because again, that's keeping communication open. But it goes the same way for you. If your housekeeper writes you, you have to respond back to them. You have to give them that respect. So I can't stress that enough. I know this sounds crazy. Like I'm just like talking about all this stuff, but it's not just me. These are not just stories from me, but this is just stories from like other people that I've heard. I'm just trying to help you comb through any red tape that you may come up with later, because I didn't know any of this stuff. I just went in it and went into it like, okay, housekeeper, you clean the house, and yeah, that's just what you do. And it's so much more to it than what I thought. So let's talk bonus time. At the end of the year, you may be trying to figure out what you're going to give your staff members and your employees. But something that I've learned, and this just happens in any job, you get a bonus because something positive has happened in the business. So you have to then look at your whole entire year of what has happened, what things have been done that have been avoidable, that have been inadvertently cost you money. And these are things that like I said, I'm learning as well. I'm not going to just give out money just because I'm giving out money. And things are happening that I feel shouldn't be happening. So, how are you going to go about determining what you're going to give for bonuses, and why would this be? And it's not about being stingy, but if I'm losing inventory, if you're not going above and beyond. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm paying you for the job that you do. But if that's all that you do is exactly what you have to do, and maybe sometimes even less than that, then I'm not about to be coming out of my pocket at the end of the month or the end of the year trying to, make you happy when I'm not happy. Guys, I know this may be a lot, but trust me, if you are going to, sorry, I got my little drink here. Today is rum stripe with cranberry. I know last time I had pineapple, but if you are going to be doing this business, you need to take heed to what I am saying, especially if you're doing it down here. Now, if you're watching this video from somewhere else, I'm not saying that you don't need to. These are tips, and I feel like these are tips that anybody can use when you have a business and you're going to hire housekeeping. Some things are very important no matter where you are. But I have really, really broken things down for just doing business here, and especially if you're abroad doing business here. So you guys let me know, what do you do with your housekeepers? Do you find that some of these issues or some of these things that I've said is common for you too, or you were wondering about the same thing? What have you done to resolve these things? And oh, one last thing, staff meetings. You got to have a staff meeting. And because I find that, like I said, I feel that communication is a big issue here. What I've done, and I have not completed it, you may have to talk to each person individually to get out like more personal things that you want to address with them. And then you come together to then discuss just generalized things or changes that you may want to do. And I haven't completely done that already. I've just been speaking to like individual people, but I do want to have one group meeting because I cannot just be in an environment where I'm under stress and unnecessary stress. Life is already too stressful. So I want to just work with people that are just for the business. I'm not asking you to go and do anything more for me than what you have to do, but I want you to do what I pay you to do well and to the best of your ability and the way I asked you to do it. That's it. That's all I want. That's all I want. Because I just want my guests to be happy. I want to be happy, and I want you to be happy. So just like I told you with house rules, I talk to the guests before they book with me to make sure that everything aligns. You got to do that with your staff as well. In my situation, my condo is in a gated community. So there are like several housekeepers here. And there are two types of housekeepers that service the condos that are here. There are people that actually live here in these condos. So you have the residential type that they only come to work 5 days a week for one family. And then you have the housekeepers that service Airbnbs. They service multiple apartments in the complexes during the week. They may not come 5 days a week. They may just come when they have check-ins or check-outs. And so those are typically the two types. Now, let's talk about options for finding a housekeeper. Usually, if you're in a gated community or you're going to be in some new construction project, the housekeepers typically they just kind of just show up. They may solicit you. They may start to leave their cards, with management or in the lobby because they're trying to secure jobs, maybe even before the places have been built. One friend told me about an idea of maybe going to some of the hospitality colleges and just putting up an ad that you're looking for a housekeeper, depending on what parish you're in, and maybe you can start your interview like that. I do know an Airbnb where she, remember how I told you how it was a residential housekeeper that was here, and she had her come work for her, and it works out perfectly because this person doesn't have to worry about servicing, five, six, seven, eight Airbnbs. Look, I just counted all that out. But she doesn't have to worry about servicing all these different Airbnbs. She has one family that she services 5 days a week, and then she has my friend that she goes to her house maybe like 5 times a month or something like that, just for her check-ins and checkouts, and it works out so good for her. She really, I mean, it just, this situation just kind of like fell into her lap. She told me sometimes things may not come when you want them, but they always come like on time, right when you need them. And that's exactly what happened to her. So she was very fortunate to find someone. And this situation is just so good for her because the person just takes care of her family that she services, and then she goes to my friend, and she's right here on the premises. And because I know I need another housekeeper, I have to just figure out what I'm going to do because, now I have a second property. And you may ask, why don't I want my first housekeeper to do this house? Because I also need a backup housekeeper. So I feel like my current housekeeper could be a backup housekeeper for this house, and this housekeeper can be a backup housekeeper for that house. But I am going to use some of the same tips that I just, disclosed to you guys. I'm going to use that in my own search because, like I said, I still have a lot of, wrinkles to get out of my own situation with dealing with staff. And I hope I just was able to shed some light on some things for you guys. I really hope that you like this video too. And I want to bring more videos like this to you, just showing you, just some of the things that you may have not have thought about when you were, just doing anything down here. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here now. I have a guest checking in tomorrow. So I just want to go and just, see what's going on in my house and just, tweak some things if I need to. But I really enjoyed talking to you guys today. Make sure that you like and you comment and you subscribe. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.